The Science of Qatar World Cup 2022. The Science of Qatar World Cup 2022. In this sequence of classes we will work on the following subjects. Why will the Qatar World Cup be in November and not in June like all the others? What is the relative humidity in Qatar during the year? What is relative humidity and why is it important? What is the composition of atmospheric air and its importance for the quality of life? How does Qatar get its water supply? What is drinking water? Why is aquamarine not consumable? What is water desalination and how is it done? Where does Qatar's wealth come from? What is the origin of oil? Why does Qatar's soil contain oil and not groundwater? Between others. Qatar location in the Middle East, on the Arabian Peninsula in continental Asia. Qatar map. Where can we find the location of Doha circled in red? Its capital and main city. Welcome to Qatar. Pictures of Qatar. This is one of your deserts. Pictures of Qatar. Here is one of its beaches. Pictures of Qatar Doha city at night. One of Qatar's stadium's aerial view. One of Qatar's stadium's internal view. The science of atmospheric air. In this video we will work on the following topics: composition of atmospheric air, pulmonary breathing, cellular respiration, glucose combustion reaction. Importance and function of oxygen, nitrogen, carbon dioxide and water vapor in atmospheric air and for life. What is the relative and absolute humidity of the air and its implications? The reasons for the World Cup in Qatar to be in November and December, between others. Ideal composition of atmospheric air. Atmospheric air is made up of several gases. An analysis of the dry and clean air layers at sea level can reveal the composition of 21% oxygen, O2, 78% nitrogen, N2, 0.4% carbon dioxide, CO2. There are other gases dispersed in the air, especially in big cities where the degree of pollution is high, but we will not analyze this aspect for now. Another important aspect is the relative humidity of the air. It represents a meteorological variable that can affect the organism of all living beings. According to the World Health Organization, WHO, the ideal level for the human body is between 40% and 70%. The science of atmospheric air, cellular respiration. Inspired oxygen enters the lungs and reaches the pulmonary alveoli. The blood picks up oxygen from the lungs through the pulmonary veins to the left side of the heart, which pumps blood to the rest of the body. The oxygen poor, carbon dioxide-rich blood returns to the right side of the heart through two large veins, and then the blood is pumped through the pulmonary artery to the lungs, where it collects oxygen and releases carbon dioxide. The science of atmospheric air, cellular respiration. In the cell, the combustion reaction of sugars takes place to obtain energy, as shown in the image to the side. The science of atmospheric air. Glucose combustion reaction. One molecule of glucose, C6 hydrogen oxide, reacts with 6 molecules of oxygen gas, O2, to produce 6 molecules of carbon dioxide, 6 molecules of water, H2O, and 36 ATP, adenosine triphosphatem molecule that stores energy. Look at the figure below. Importance of the ideal composition of atmospheric air. Why 21% oxygen, O2? Living organisms need these amounts. Sudden variations are lethal, of these gases to carry out their metabolism. Lacking oxygen or low levels, the cells will not produce energy which will cause them to die. When all the cells in an organ die, the patient dies. The opposite is also lethal. Amounts above 21% of oxygen in the breathed air can lead a person to something called oxygen toxicity. This will cause excessive oxidation in the cells, leading to their death as well. Why 78% nitrogen, N2? Nitrogen gas is an inert gas, that is, it has a low reactivity. So much so, that to store some biological material for a long time, it is done in this liquefied gas. For organisms, its quantity in the atmospheric air is of vital importance. Otherwise, the use of 100% oxygen in the air breathed in addition to the problems already addressed, is also toxic to the lungs. Excessive O2 concentration can damage the lung, causing its structures to wither, making gas exchange difficult for the blood until the organ's function is lost. This just does not occur due to the presence in proportions of 78% of nitrogen, which keeps the lung structures inflated, so that gas exchange occurs perfectly. Why is carbon dioxide vital, CO2? Doesn't it cause the greenhouse effect and climate change? Yes, the problem of carbon dioxide on the planet is its excess. The harmful effects of the unbridled emission of this gas are already well known. It retains heat in the lower layers of the atmosphere, unbalancing the climate and increasing temperature averages. But it is also one of the vital gases on our planet, as it is one of the main raw materials for plants to carry out photosynthesis, develop and feed us. Water vapor in the air. Blend. Absolute air humidity. It is the total amount of water vapor that exists in the atmosphere. Relative humidity. It is the amount of water vapor present in the air, measured in relation to the atmosphere. Its value can vary between 0% on water steam and 100%. When in its maximum quantity, the air becomes saturated. The result is rain. Why do we need water vapor in the air? Air humidity is a factor that directly influences the temperature in places where the relative humidity of the air is low. The atmosphere presents some difficulty to remain constant. As a result, they oscillate a lot, increasing the thermal amplitude. That is, the difference between the lowest and highest temperature throughout the day. Precipitation. The greater the humidity in the air, the greater the chances of rain. Quality of life. The amount of water vapor in the air can also influence your life, as humidity can affect comfort and even health. When it is high, the environment becomes conducive to the proliferation of fungi. When low, humidity can cause dehydration, nosebleeds and breathing problems. Exactly the desert climate problem that is the case of Qatar. Relative humidity in Qatar during the World Cup. The weather in November and December in Qatar is expected to be good. The temperature must be between 15 and 30 degrees and the relative humidity must be between 50% and 60%, very appropriate indexes compared to other months of the year. In the table to the side we can see the variation of air humidity during the year 2021 and feed our expectations. Between November and December the graph indicates more pleasant weather than any other. World Cup date Qatar World, November 21st to December 18th. Why the Cup from the World of Qatar will be in November and December? Because it is the period when temperatures are milder, between 18 and 26 degrees Celsius. Air-conditioned stadiums. If necessary, the stadiums are equipped with air conditioning technologies to alleviate extreme situations. Water desalination. In this video we will work on the following topics: water in the Middle East including Qatar, water desalination processes, between others. Water in Qatar and throughout the Middle East. As we know, Qatar is located in a desert region and therefore has little water. The region is surrounded by salt water because it is marine and therefore unsuitable for human activities including ingestion, due to its high salt content. Like other countries in the region, Qatar needs to desalinate seawater to consume it, as it has little or no drinking water on its territory. Desalination is a physical-chemical process of removing salts from water, making it sweet and suitable for consumption. Naturally, during the water cycle, The evaporation of seawater leaves behind the salt to form clouds that generate rain. Distillation, reproducing the natural process in a plant. It heats large amounts of water until it boils, condenses its vapor and collects the water free of its salts and minerals in another container. As we know, when water boils it does not take with it these salts and minerals contained in it. This is an energy-intensive and therefore expensive process. The diagram opposite reproduces the simple distillation laboratory process. By reverse osmosis, this process occurs when strong pressure is exerted on a saline solution to cross a semi-permeable membrane, equipped with microscopic pores, responsible for retaining salts, microorganisms and other impurities. This technique is also expensive because it requires electric motors to provide the necessary pressure, as the process is the opposite of what occurs naturally. But it is the most effective and has already been implemented in several plants. The diagram on the side reproduces the osmosis process in the laboratory. Dubai's huge desalination plant. Petroleum. In this video we will work on the following topics: definition, formation, uses and importance of petroleum, why the soil of the Middle East is rich in oil and not in water, processing or refining of petroleum, between others. The biggest source of wealth for Qatar and most other Middle Eastern countries is oil. Petroleum is a natural, flammable, oily liquid with a characteristic smell and with a density lower than that of water. It is a complex mixture of hydrocarbons, that is, of organic substances formed only by hydrogen and carbon. The use of petroleum began in 4000 BC, receiving the most varied names: naphtha from Persia, oil of St. Quirino, bitumen, among others. At that time it was used for different functions. For example, it was used in the paving of ancient Rome. To seal Inca reservoirs, Hebrew priests used oil to light fires. It was used to embalm bodies, waterproofing buildings and palaces, build vessels, and to ignite war spears. With the invention of gasoline and diesel engines, oil began to acquire more importance and the demand for it became greater. Origin of oil. The most accepted theory is that petroleum is of organic origin, generated in sedimentary basins from accumulated organic matter, together with inorganic sediments, in oxygen-deficient environments. This accumulation generally takes place at the bottom of lakes, lagoons or seas. Organic matter undergoes modifications resulting from chemical reactions and the action of bacteria, resulting in the generation of some biogenic gas and the transformation of the remaining organic matter into kerogen, a material rich in very heavy solid hydrocarbons. Kerogen-rich rocks are called mother rocks or source rocks, because it is in them that the generation of oil will occur. Extremely high pressure and temperature over time, tens or hundreds of millions of years, are fundamental for the formation and quality of this precious liquid. On the side we have an image of fragments of oil-rich rocks. Organic material from the land depositing on the seafloor. Sand and other debris form layers of sediment over organic material. With high pressure and temperature the organic material turns into hydrocarbons. As pressure and temperature increase, chemical reactions continue until oil is produced. Oil in the Middle East. If oil was formed at the bottom of the sea, how to explain the great occurrence of this, black gold, in the Middle East region? The explanation is that region, millions of years ago, sheltered primitive seas that several bottom steam processes such as the movement of tectonic plates, and the region's oceans in the accumulation of organic material in its. The formation of layers of salt and rocks over this organic material favored the formation of oil. Middle Eastern soil. Desert soils classified as sandy, characteristic of most Middle Eastern countries including Qatar, are formed through a process of wind erosion that is characterized by the presence of minerals and little organic matter, that is, its fertility is very low. The main compound that forms this soil is sand, abundantly available in sheets and sandbanks. The water that enters from under this type of soil is drained very easily. Soil with rocks is very common. In addition, it is possible to see plains covered in salt because of the drying up of lakes in the desert, which are caused by rain or meltwater. These lakes are shallow and their water is salty. Why is oil so valuable? Because it is the main source of energy today that makes it possible to carry out numerous activities. Mainly used as fuel for automobiles, cargo vehicles and aviation. In the petrochemical industry in the manufacture of various materials. Oil refining. How to get so many substances from this oil. Transforming crude oil into essential products for everyday life is the process called oil refining through fractional distillation. Crude oil is heated at high temperatures until it evaporates. This vapor returns to a liquid state as it cools at different levels within a distillation tower. In each level there is a container that collects a certain oil byproduct. The less dense the fraction, this implies less carbon, C, in the structure, the further up the tower a will come out. The opposite is true, that is, the denser, more carbons, C, in the structure, the further down the fraction will come out.